Good morning, and call the meeting to order. Nice to see everybody. Our first step is the approval of minutes. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? Do I hear a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good. Okay, so I have a little following up category. The first one is the funeral homes were notified of our fee increase. The way I did that was I talked to Rich Atwood, and he does not tell them how much money, they just give him a check. It all goes through the funeral homes. So I emailed the 4 major funeral homes that the Stockbridge is using and told them of our fee increase, and also that people are eligible for a discount if they need to. And so seems to be all taken care of. I also copied the treasurer and the accountant. So at some point, check in and see how those things are coming in. Okay. Second item is the tree warden review of cemetery trees. I'm just checking in. I'm going to leave it on the list. Michael, I'm sure you haven't had time to.
No, we haven't been able to get over there, but as soon as town meeting's done, there's a whole list of things
I know.
we're gonna get on.
But I just want to leave it on the list so I don't forget it too.
Right.
So.
And then what we'll do is, we'll go through, we'll determine if there's any that want to be taken down that are healthy, because then we have to hold hearings.
Right.
And what he can do is identify any that are sick, diseased, or a threat, and those can be taken down if they are.
Yeah. Just be good to have his assessment of them.
Yeah.
Too. So next item is signs about hours and mowing. We talked about having signs. So I have some possible cemetery wordage, sign wordage. Okay. So 2 possibilities. The cemetery is open sunrise to sunset, or cemetery open from sunrise to sunset. Not a whole lot of, so that would be for the hours. About the mowing in the old section, remember, I don't know if you remember, we talked about putting up a sign so people understand. So I have 2 versions, one of which is probably too long, but okay. The first one, some stones in this section are over 250 years old. To protect them for another 250 years, we only mow this section once or twice a year. That's one possibility. And the second is mowing in this section is limited to help protect the 250-year-old stones from damage.
I think that one's better.
Okay.
But I'm not-
Like the shorter one, yeah.
And it's not limiting on how many or what.
Right.
It leaves it sort of, we're limiting it, but
Yeah, that's,
leaves a little discretion as to.
yeah.
Exactly.
Everyone like that one?
Yep.
Marion and me would put a hyphen between 250 and years and then drop the S on years. I'm just throwing that out. You don't have to.
Well, and do we even need the 250 years? Do we just say the marble stones from damage?
Or just the old stones.
Old stones from damage, yeah.
Good point.
Because in 10 years, it's going to be 260 years.
Good point.
So we'll drop the 250 years and say help protect the old stones from damage?
Yeah, that's good.
Mowing in this section is limited to help protect the old stones from damage. Okay, all right. How about the cemetery hours? The 2 versions were very close. One had a the and one doesn't.
And it is.
And it is, that's right. That's right, you're right. Any preferences on that one?
I don't think you need the for signage.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do a compromise. Drop the keep the is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good, good for everybody? What do you think, Hugh?
How would it read?
It would read cemetery is open sunrise to sunset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Locations and how many of those?
And size.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my next question. What happened? Okay, so location, and how many? And you have to deal with them too, so in terms of putting them in a place where they don't get in the way.
Well, here's what I'll throw out, just if so you have a couple different entrances. Your walk-in entrances can be a smaller sign that is simple to read. Your drive-in entrances need, because you can't have people, it's gonna have to be sort of to the same size that a street sign. So you're talking a larger sign, because when somebody's driving past, even at 5 or 10 miles an hour, they can't be, you don't want them trying to read something where they might get in an accident because they're trying to read something that's too small. So it needs to be, yeah, the proper size. We can use the uniform traffic code as a basis, but they'd be larger signs. So,
Well, we have Main Street and we have Church Street, and both of those are both walking and driving entrances. They're used both ways.
all right. So then we should just design them all as driving then. All right.
Okay.
Just have to make sure we're inside of the sign bylaws.
Isn't there 3 or is one not?
I don't know.
There's
Is there
only 2
another
that are
one?
used?
Well, there's two.
Oh, no, there's
entrances.
3.
I thought there was
There's
3.
the
All right.
third one that's by Williams's.
Yeah, there's 2 there, and then there's the 2 up off of Main Street, right? There's 2 off of there.
Are there 2 off of there?
One is,
Yeah,
one's walking only, right?
Yeah,
Where's the walking up at the
and then you got the one,
There's a little,
The east corner?
there's a little gate.
Yeah.
east corner?
I thought
That's
there was
toward the
one-
old
Okay,
section.
little gate. I used to use that.
So that's just walking.
and then you got
East
the,
corner.
And then there's the
Down-
driveway that goes toward what I call the mausoleum.
Yes,
Right.
that's
And
what I was
that's got
thinking
the
of.
posts so that when people are driving, they're paying attention to the posts. So I think the sign shouldn't be right next to that because they're not going to pay attention to it. They're going to be, if they're driving, they're going to say, uh-oh, I got to watch, I don't hit the posts.
We'll treat them like a roadway sign so that, right, if you have obstacles right there, you're gonna have to put them a little further
Further in,
up. So
yeah.
I'll go over, Hugh, me and you will take a walk at these locations and we'll take a look at them. We'll bring back to you guys a recommended sign and maybe just print it off on paper, what the size would look like and then
Perfect.
Okay.
we can go from there.
So we're talking
How
4
many
of them?
entrances are there from Church Street?
2.
2, yeah. Well, is that
There's
not
a one off.
really an entrance?
Right.
No, it's not supposed to be used at all. I was delivering some materials to someone who lived on Church Street. And he said, oh, just pull in that area. And immediately someone lives next door came out and said, you can't park here. So
We can't park there. It's a right of way over.
oh, you can actually drive through. It's a right of way.
Yeah, we have a right
Yeah,
of way
you
over.
can drive through there.
Oh, boy.
And of course, then there's the entrance off of the
And people walking.
Namkeg
yeah, it's 5 of them.
Drive.
Right. Right.
All right, we'll take a look at all of them.
Yeah. When you're on the ground, you'll get a better sense of.
Right, and if there's only one that's a walk-in, then we probably should keep them all uniform.
I agree with you.
We'll do up a sample size of one based on a traffic sign. Printing, so that people driving could,
Do you want me to send you the final wording?
yes, please.
And then whatever style.
Right.
Oh, and I'm going to send
We're
you,
gonna have contrasting color, so it's
I'm
gonna
gonna
have to be a
send
dark
you
on the
what I
light,
have.
light on the dark.
I've got files for all the town directional signs that were.
Oh, all right,
Okay, so I'll send you that, so you'll
All
have
right.
something to go by. You can look at those.
And then the post, I've been using black vinyl chain link post. It looks way warmer than this galvanized, with a cap on it, like on Main Street, the handicap. I've been using them. So I don't know if you want to use that or if you're thinking of stone or just keep it simple.
I'll keep it simple,
Okay.
yeah.
for cars, they're gonna have to be a certain height,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Okay. Good, you missed.
Does this have just wording, won't have any town logo or anything like that on it? Because I would think that if we added this, like town logos, people, that would be more attractive for being taken.
Oh,
So if it
Be
just said,
more attractive to be taken?
yes, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because people do collect signs that have place names on them.
Yeah,
So if we have just the hours of the cemetery and don't say this is the Stockbridge Cemetery or anything like that, then it will be, I think, less likely to be taken.
okay.
yeah.
I think
They also make a special hardware. It's a one-way hardware. So once it's on, to get them off, you almost got to destroy them to get them off. So it's going to be,
Or take the post out of the ground.
yeah.
We don't want to do that.
That's why I'm thinking a simpler post in case somebody does something to it. Yeah, right. All right. Okay, good. Good. Excellent. Thank you. So the next up on following up is April cleanup and extra soil storage. So let's start with the April cleanup. Is it going
Yeah.
along?
I had a gentleman in there yesterday and I have 3 gentlemen in there today working.
Ah, wonderful.
It's not too bad. There's a lot of limbs and stuff down. We did a pretty good impact cleaning last fall,
Yeah.
we really did a nice job, the guys did, so. Three of them, I figured with the rain, if it starts raining, they can move inside, start sorting some of that stuff out and cleaning out that garage, so.
Okay. Oh, good, great.
Overall, it's pretty good shape. And then the pile, I think that's more of A&A, right? That's, as they dig, they're gonna,
Yeah, I think he just wanted to consult with you about where to put it,
Yeah.
where to place it.
Yeah.
That would be, so we're talking about, we talked about last week, or last month, keeping the extra soil, not carting it away anymore, and just putting it in a pile somewhere that is inoffensive. I mean, so, and they're going to consult on where that might be. But I just wanted to check on it. Okay. I wanted to report that the facilities manager position is not going to be filled. I mean, maybe most of you knew that, but, so we know that Rich Atwood, A&A, is going to be is now handling the burials. And other aspects are going to be handled by,
Most likely, most of the time to you.
right? But that, I just wanted to also report, because I had brought up about the number of people on the commission, and because, according to our bylaw, the cemetery consultant, that's what this position was called, which was basically be what Chris was and what Rich is now, is considered a voting member of the commission. However, Rich Atwood's not, I mean, to me, he's an employee, and I don't think he's got time to come in and do these meetings anyway. So, but it does mean that we are officially at 8.
Do we want to ask him? I mean, he was an employee. We might be interested. He might have some good ideas too.
He does have ideas. We could ask about that. It's an interesting idea. I made an assumption. Yeah. I will ask him.
I know he already came in and scanned all the files onto his iPad,
Yeah.
cards, and
He's digitizing our record.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's great.
I know. I will consult with him about that and see if we can. But basically, it just means we need 5 to have a quorum. So, and we did that today. So. The last item on the following up is something we talked about last time, and Mike wasn't here. It's the cemetery budget, how we pay for things. And I had a good conversation with him about that. So I wanted, this is not to ambush you, I just wanted to let people know what we had talked about, because I found it very reassuring that there is money for things. That was the question. So you were saying that there's enough money in the current budget that we don't need to add anything else.
right. And I know you specifically talked, there's incidents like if a tree came down, if something had to be taken out that we didn't have the funds for, we can look at, hey, what other funds within the towns we have? And then there's always the reserve, which we have $150,000 reserve set up it's intentionally there for all departments for unexpected costs that arise that operational budgeting should just be around the stuff we standardly do. And then the reserve is there for others. But if we had a tree down, the first thing I'd probably do is go to the tree warden and say, hey, we have a tree down, and it's a public tree, which falls underneath his,
Right.
technically under his. And, if at the end of the year, if we had to go after a few $1,000s, say out of the reserve, that's what we have it for.
Okay.
I think otherwise, we have the budget for the cemetery and
Yeah.
with the highway department, so.
Right. And so for things like the garage, that, you want to do a little bit of work on that, you felt there was enough money around that we.
Yeah, I mean, if we start getting into a 5-figure items that we need to start thinking about, is that a individual warrant article for a town meeting, or is it something, is it annual, does it need to be added? But if we're talking something that just pops up, like trying to refurbish this building right now, I'd take some of the money and carry it over into next year if we're anticipating.
Okay. Yeah. And that's,
Now, our budget is in good shape overall.
so that's what I had been thinking about, just things like this, like you're realizing that, we really should do something with this garage and, get it cleaned up. And that's not a huge amount. It's not a 5-figure.
Yeah.
But do we have that flexibility? And we were concerned last month that we didn't have that flexibility, but I'm hoping that it sounds like we do. And,
I mean, it might have to be, like I said, if it was a $3,000 or $4,000 item, it might be having to go to the select board and finance committee and asking for that reserve account transfer
okay.
and that, which they can do any point of the year.
Okay.
And that, and
We don't have to wait for town
It's
meeting.
pretty routine.
Okay. All right. All right.
just a reminder, we did have a couple hits. The leaf loader, we split it with the highway to cemetery for the leaf loader in the box.
Okay.
And also we had to put a motor on one of the stand-up mowers.
Yeah.
So that hit the budget. And also the garage door. That's the garage door. estimate. I know we talked about
Yeah, and
doing
that's,
that.
and
How much is that?
It's 1748. That's for a new garage door, keyed the same as the original or the other one to match it, same thing. And I talked to the inspector about the damage to the corner, so we can move forward on fixing that.
oh, good, good.
Yeah.
And how about the sill?
We'll have to take care of that.
Oh, you're gonna
I can
take-
do that
okay.
in-house, yeah.
Okay.
And that's us removing the old door at the time, prior to them installing the new door.
Yeah.
And they said they're probably, it's towards the fall before they can get to it, so I don't know.
Is replacing of the door something that would have to go to historic?
No.
No, all right.
Okay, good.
So we can take a look at the budget and worst case scenario, we would go for a reserve account for something like this.
Okay.
If it's not, if we don't have remaining funds in there.
Okay, good. I just like the idea of continuing to move forward on these kinds of things. All right, so that's all the following up. The next is the estimate cost of work on the cemetery garage, and it sounds like you guys are moving along on that.
Yeah, and I talked to Mike Buffoni with the water department. That's still an option, bringing utilities into there. That's
Yeah.
something that'll have to be addressed sometime, so. I know we talked about it at one of our department head meetings as well, so.
Okay.
So it's on the radar, potentially a future project, I guess.
Yeah. At least getting the utilities in, but you're working on
Right,
numbers for what it would take to fix up that building.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to occasionally have that resurface so we can just check in with it. That's not to put pressure on either one of you guys, but just to have it on the list. So I'll leave it off next month, but. Okay, the last thing is, well, not last thing, next thing is assessment of the remaining space in the town cemetery. And I sent you all the estimate that Rich Atwood gave us for layout of the pathway in the new section for cremations for flat markers only. That's his preference. We can talk about that. When he's talking about, he wants, for the cremations, he would prefer flat markers as opposed to headstones or stones that stand up. With pins and layout, I mean, this is his way of lobbying for it. With pins and layout and modification of the map, please figure $835. So I thought we could probably cover that. And I'd like to move forward on that. Any discussion on that? Actually, I'll make a motion that we hire Rich Atwood to do this. Any seconds?
Do we want to discuss the idea that it can only be flat markers? I mean,
What was that, Patrick?
Agree with Roxanne. I think we should talk about whether it's only flat markers.
Okay. All right, we can do that. That's fine.
And I'm also confused. This is removing the road area? Is that what we're talking?
That's the next paragraph.
Okay, so I'm unclear then where these cremations are going.
They're in what I think of as the new section. We all think of the new section. There are spaces in the new section
Yeah.
because burials have been placed probably in some ways that Rich wouldn't have originally. So he's trying to recapture some space in the,
create a path.
to create an area for cremations. Yes.
So-
And he's suggesting cremations would be better in that area because you can make them much smaller plots.
Okay.
is he
So-
talking about this area in the center? You know how
No.
all the new area?
No.
Where's he talking about specifically?
Just to the east of the new area. So looking at your map,
here.
yeah, that's it.
On this
This is an
side?
area, there are already a bunch of stones.
Right.
In fact, that whole area goes about halfway down that length of that.
Yep, and then
And,
there's a whole bunch of free space in here.
right, and those are the two areas I said, let's map, what happens if we map these out? So, how much space do we have? We're not even looking at the oval yet. We don't need it, which is nice. We have a.
I personally, in terms of the flat markers, I think the flat markers are a real deterrent to people doing cremations because I think people still want graves to be marked and visible when you approach. So that's just my only comment. That's just my personal opinion.
I guess, what are you looking to, is it that we'd be selling multiple cremation ones or a single to a family and then they could put multiple?
Yeah, you're asking me, I don't know. What he has in mind is all he cares about is access. So that's his concern about the flat markers. He just wants it to be more accessible.
So the reason why he's bringing up the flat markers is you could have up to 8 cremations in a single grave. You don't want 8 stones. So if this is a typical grave where one coffin would go in, you're now putting 8.
Right.
You don't want 8 headstones.
Yeah.
So
Right.
so we might want to table this just to, and maybe have him here
Yeah,
because
yeah.
is he laying out the area for cremations where he's going to leave a little bit of area between? And we're talking a whole bunch of cremations only and selling those individually? Or are we looking at selling a lot? Because then I've seen a lot of places where they say the lot can have 1 headstone for the family name, but then the individual cremations are marked with a flat marker. This is a very common approach because if not, you're going to end up with headstones all over the place.
Multiple options
Right,
here, and I
right.
just think just going with this one option, because that's an option. Another option is a different style of marker where it's all one marker, like
Yeah.
maybe it's vertical and everyone is listed. So I think there's options to think about. It'd be interesting to see how the public feels about it. People that are anticipating being cremated. I mean,
Yeah.
how does
And I think it
that go?
very much depends if it's if we're selling the plot to be used for multiple, or if we're identifying individual cremation spaces for individuals that prefer cremation. Because
Right.
I think we.
Not related.
Not related, right, that, I mean, you can really multiply your cemetery by a lot, but the problem is you're talking a 1-by-1 area. So you're not gonna have headstones at each one.
Right.
But if they're a family one, you could have the headstone and then individual ones marking where the individuals are. So I think we have to determine exactly what is being proposed here. I'm a little confused as to, are we selling cremation lots? Or are we selling a grave lot that can be broken up into cremations?
Yeah, that's a good question. My sense is, that, remember when,
Individual cremations.
no, I think I'm surprised he said it for, he's identifying an area that he thinks would be best for cremations. But they're not limited to cremations. So I think we need to first look at, and he has talked to me about different sizes of grave plots, and you can go a little bit smaller maybe. And I think it'd just be good to have him come in and talk about all of this, because I just don't know enough about it, so.
Right.
All right, good.
And if he has pictures as well, not just words, but if we could see a map and.
Yeah, I know, I was thinking now, you've made a
the
note.
Actual layout.
With map, bring a map in.
And just on behalf of flat markers, sometimes in a cemetery like ours where we have all uprights everywhere, it's a nice relief to the eye to go, flat, and then maybe up again. So from a distance, there can be an appeal to that, and some people might like that. So it's just, I agree with what you said, we need more. We need to understand more.
Information, yeah.
Do folks ever have hybrids in their families? Like some people want a conventional burial and others want to be cremated? Or is it usually you go all one or all the other?
I don't know. I don't know. It would be, I could make a guess, but,
Typically, we sell a burial lot.
right.
And then what happens is because we're not others in order to be interned there, sometimes they do put the cremation on top of
Yes,
the vaults and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think this is where we need clarification on exactly what we're laying out here. Because if, like I said, if you're laying out a purely area for just individual cremations.
Yeah.
You're pretty much going to need to do the flat stones because you wouldn't even have a marker because these are all individual name. But it depends on I'm not sure what we're talking about.
Well, actually, we're definitely not talking about only individuals, because our policy is each town resident is entitled to 2 plots. I mean, each family is entitled to 2 plots.
Right.
So I think we would never be laying out only individuals. We'd always be laying out enough for 2, whether they get used or not. So.
Right.
But we definitely did talk.
Cremations, are we doing?
Yeah, I know.
A little confusion here.
Oh, yeah, we need to talk. All right, so we'll ask him to come in. Patrick, anything else from you?
Good job, as always. Thank you.
So for the next one is for layout of the new road. Now that's the road change.
Okay, yep.
And removal of old road, seed and hay is needed, add gravel and topsoil is needed, 4,800. And
And so are we creating another road?
getting rid of.
No, we're relocating.
We're
that road.
relocating. We need Roxanne's map.
Where's your map?
Oh, on this.
Turn it over.
So isn't this the area we're talking about?
Can I
Yes.
reach over?
Yes.
There's actually a cottage here somewhere.
Yep.
And then there's a structure here, a sewer structure. There's a line that runs
Oh, it goes all the way through.
directly. I met with Tony Campetti with sewer, and he showed me. So Rich's proposal, and I know that Chris talked about this too, was moving the road on it, but then Rich Atwood made a good point where if we keep the road to the edge of it,
Yeah.
then we're still got snow on it, in the winter to help protect the sewer.
Oh,
Freezing.
Yeah.
So even if we're close to the road with the sewer, nobody's gonna,
So which part is moving here?
it would be this right here would go that way.
Shucks this way.
Yeah,
And that would open up more in this
Right.
area.
Right. It would also make better use of the oval, because at this point, there's major sections of that oval we can't use because the sewer's there. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so
So that becomes a pretty tight curve if you're driving, right?
it's not as tight as Roxanne's
Oh,
map.
Yeah, I know.
Not to scale.
Sure. Yeah, I actually just drove through, but yeah, okay,
It's not tight.
okay.
Maybe the thing to do when we get an aerial picture of that, and we can meet and talk about the signs, and hopefully Rich will be here. Because it seems like a few of these issues hinge
Yeah.
on him,
Yeah, and it's easier to visualize if you actually have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the next meeting, we'll just use Google Maps and just
Yeah.
Yeah.
write it down, and then we can just.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds good. All right. So I will work on getting Rich here to the
Okay.
next meeting. All right. Any other questions or thoughts about this? Joe, overall, we like this idea of moving the road at some point. Yeah.
I think it makes complete sense, yeah.
Yeah. Surprised about that sewer.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
when that got put in. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It must be something through there. I don't
Long
know.
ago.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's, too deep. So that's the issue, so.
And
Yeah.
and it's still being used.
Yes, yeah.
Is that from houses on Main Street?
There's a cottage
One
there.
house.
I know it comes out of there to that structure.
It might be Fred Ruppert cottage.
That's
Yeah,
what
yes.
I was told. Yeah. That
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
It's one building?
Yes.
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 How close is the sewer in any other direction?
I don't have that answer. I can find out.
Ask Tony that.
Yeah, we can get that information.
We're talking one sewer line is preventing and,
Well, we want to verify that it's only serving
right,
one.
right. We need a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe have them rerouted.
Mike, will that be something you can
Might be
check out?
closer to go to Main Street, actually, because that's a long run.
We could piggyback on that department head meeting and.
Yeah, we'll do that at our next department head meeting with them.
Perfect.
With me, Hugh and Mike.
That's-
And Tony. We'll discuss it. We'll look at location. I'll let those guys know ahead so they'll do their work, and then me and Hugh will bring the information from that meeting to this group.
Great. Okay, perfect. Maybe we don't have to
We'll
miss
see
it.
if there's an option.
Yeah.
There might be an option to take it, before we spend 4,800 to move a road, just look to get that sewer line out of there if it's only,
It might be just
One house.
You're pumping it somewhere else.
right,
Right.
Again, I can't speak for sewer, but
right.
Good.
Is that cottage inhabited?
I don't know. I used to live there
Oh,
at
did
one
you?
point. Yeah.
Did you really?
It's good.
It's still inhabited?
I don't know. I would presume he may still
Yeah.
rent it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did as a regular rental.
All
It
right.
was cute. I liked it.
All right. Well, that's great. If we could check on that and maybe find another alternative.
Yeah.
I think that would be the best solution overall. All right. So the next item is the draft of the tour policy. Everybody got that? If you don't have it, I can.
no, I didn't print it. so.
That's all right. So any thoughts? Do
Oh, okay.
We want to read it?
you want me to read it out loud?
Yeah, could you?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
I didn't print it.
I can,
The cemetery is open from sunrise to sunset. Group activities can only take place during open hours. Requests for group tours/activities must be approved by the cemetery commission. An organization can apply once for approval of multiple tours in a specified timeframe. Example, this is in parentheses, example, for several summer tours, an organization would apply once before the start of the first tour. Applications for group tours/activities must be filled out and submitted to the Cemetery Commission before the activity is scheduled and announced to the public. Applications must be made no later than the third Tuesday of the month to be approved by the Cemetery Commission meeting on the fourth Tuesday of the month. Size of group tours/activities is limited to 50 attendees. Any materials brought in or used by the group must be taken away at the end of the event. All applicants must notify the following of all scheduled events in advance of the event: Town Administrator, Chair of the Cemetery Commission, Highway Superintendent, Burial Consultant. Applications are available on the town website and we will have a link. And then the next page is the application that will go on the website.
I think you have the contact information there for all of you.
Yep. I'm calling Rich Burial Consultant. I just don't know what else to call him. Okay, good.
The other thing I can look at doing is a single email address that would go to the four of us.
Yeah.
And on your floor,
I can talk to our IT guy about that. That would be that would simplify it.
and on the application itself, because we allow them to do this for multiple events, you might want to put date of the event and then in parentheses an S. And just so that allows them to like just list a bunch of dates.
Very good idea.
Multiple times.
Does it specify how far in advance we need this?
It has to be
She talks about,
before the activity is scheduled and announced to the public. So it just has to happen before, and it has to happen no later than the third Tuesday of the month for us to approve it at the fourth Tuesday. That is all I've said about timing.
So if the event is for the week following that, is that enough notice?
If
Well, it's
they've,
their responsibility to tell us in the previous month.
right.
Say that, I'm sorry.
They just have to give themselves more time to let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if they came to us on the third Tuesday and we approved it on the fourth Tuesday, and then what is your concern? They would be the following week?
Yeah. The event could be, the day following our meeting.
But we would know that because we'd have the application.
So, but I think maybe I'm missing your point, Pat.
As to when we want, how far in advance of the event do we want to know this?
I think you're covered because you have the statement prior to it being advertised.
And
Because no one's going to have the event 2 days after if they would already be advertising. So
yeah, and it just
If they
gets denied if
advertise.
it's,
If they advertise,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, the ones that wouldn't, like, well, even the library, if they were doing tours like they used to, they would still put it up at the library. So
Oh, yeah, and it goes,
coming to us before they actually publicize.
yeah.
Do we say, well, how did you word that?
Applications must be filled out and submitted before the activity is scheduled and announced to the public. So,
yeah.
did that cover it for you, Pat?
I think they need to know exactly what the deadline is for getting it in.
Third Thursday.
No, I don't mean that. I mean,
2 weeks
how far in
prior.
advance of their event do they need to know?
Minimum of 2 weeks prior or something like that, you're
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah,
Certainly, yeah.
that would cover it. 2 weeks, you think is
For people like
sufficient?
me that tend to do things at the last minute,
Was 2 weeks enough? Maybe 3? A minimum of 3 weeks? Can't work out the timing.
I don't know.
It's really just a notification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because now that people
2
do
weeks, I think, is fine.
advertising on the web, it's easy. It's not like you're getting a printed
Right, there's
thing
not a lot
out
of
and
lead time.
posting it someplace. You don't really need a lot of lead time.
Yeah.
No, but they wouldn't be able to announce anything on the web until we've approved it.
Right. But what I'm saying is that because of how easy and fast it is to get things up on the web, that,
But so if we've approved it and then they get it out the next day, so what?
yeah.
Is that a problem? I mean, if we approve it and the event is 2 days away, then they've only had 2 days to advertise it.
Right.
So that's kind of poor workmanship on their part, but not really our problem.
I don't think people tend to advertise this far in advance because they don't have to get posters necessarily printed up and distributed. They
Right.
can, if they're relying on web-based advertising.
I don't disagree with you. I just don't understand why it's an issue for us.
Not saying it's an issue for us, it's an issue for the people looking at the rules to see how far in advance they need to let us to do the
All
application.
right, so how would you word it then? A minimum of 2 weeks, 2 weeks before what?
Either that or, like, if we said a month in advance of the event, is that,
Might be a little too
that's
restrictive.
too much?
But I mean, the
Yeah.
other way you can word it is as, an advisory. We advise that you notify us at least whatever X
Yeah.
number of weeks in advance.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is we don't want to scare people away from having events either. If it looks too
Right.
restrictive, then they're just not going to want to deal with it. So you want to invite people there, but also have the respect of coming to the board
Right.
prior.
Maybe leave it as it is, and if it turns out to be an issue,
Change it.
Change it.
change it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. Okay, so,
And so is this also true for the Sedgwick pie?
no, we have nothing to do with the Sedgwick pie.
Okay. So
Well,
there'll
I did
be-
use it for tours, but
Yeah, so-
we don't.
There'll be tours going to the Sedgwick pie that will go through the cemetery.
Right, they still have to access and walk through the cemetery.
Right.
Well, then it does apply, doesn't
I think
it?
it does.
Yeah. I think most people don't know that the Sedgwick pie is not owned by the
Right,
town.
right.
It's,
Right.
it's embedded in the cemetery at this point.
Exactly.
So-
And it is in the middle, so you are traversing.
Right,
The
right.
town
So you're bringing,
cemetery.
yeah, okay, so it does apply, yeah. Patrick, yeah.
Questions. One, does the board envision any grounds or any scenarios where a permit would be denied? Or is this simply a notification that they plan to hold an event?
You're asking if the board, you mean this board?
If someone
You-
uses criteria less than 50 during the day, whatever the criteria are they automatically approved, or are there other factors that will take into account in providing approval?
Well, what are your thoughts on it? Because you're a member of the board, so,
What I think is that this should be that they need to notify, and I think that notification of the chairman should be adequate, and that to the degree that you feel the need to deny or work out a different date, you should be empowered to. I kind of agree with Pat that, I don't believe this board needs to review in advance as long as you are, or the chairman is. I think that would be adequate, and I think that, I would be happy, investing in the chair the power to approve these events in conjunction with the other 3 people on the email list. I just think there could be a month, for example, where we can't meet. Maybe it's inclement weather, so who knows? That we might not want to kind of, I assume we're going to approve most of the ones that come in, if not all, if they meet the criteria. So why not, when it comes in, you're able to approve it.
so it's, okay, so if I understand you right, you're suggesting that we don't make it something that the commission has to vote on, but rather something that the 4 people who are being notified would make the decision.
I would leave it to the chair as,
Yeah.
basically, if it's just like the library or just a group saying we're doing a tour of the, right, why do we need to restrict just 2 weeks prior to the event? They just submit. It's more of a notification.
Right. Well, and I also
Because
think.
we got to be careful on what grounds you would ever not allow.
Right. And the other thing is it can be left up to the chair's discretion. In other words, you either just approve it, or if you think there might be something problematic that's been stated, then you bring it to the entire group.
That makes me feel more comfortable
Yeah.
with that particular responsibility. The notification is very important, especially for you and for Rich Atwood, I think, in particular. You guys need to know when tours are happening. You might have work going on, you might,
Yeah, Rich and I starting to develop a good rapport.
Yeah.
So I think that's, as long as somebody's aware. And the only thing that really would affect highway like you said, work or winter events where we gotta clear the road for something, you know, that would be,
yeah.
because we don't plow or maintain it unless there's, service going on or burial, so.
Right. Okay. So that would change things quite a bit here, wouldn't it? No. Well, no, maybe not. Well, it says requests for group tours must be approved by the cemetery commission. So we would change that to must be approved by the chair.
Period.
No, I think that we don't necessarily have to change
Change
this.
the wording, right. It's, we're given the
just
discretion.
internally-
Our policy is that you review it. If you feel like it's just a normal, like I said, the easy one would be the library tours, you know.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
But if we get some bizarro statements about what they want to
they're
bring
having a
in, or
concert.
they're gonna have a bouncy house really shipped in or something, then we might want to, like, I'll talk about that one.
Trying to imagine that. Where would you put the bouncy house? In the middle of the Sedgwick Pie?
Or maybe over in like the new section in the center of the
Over the sewer.
Right,
Oval, that's
right,
right, that's right. Okay.
What would happen if somebody wanted to have a night Halloween party or something, not party, but tour,
Read the policy. What it says right there.
sunset.
yeah, that's right. But I mean, what if they wanted an exception?
That would.
Then they would ask
Would
this
we ever
board.
make an exception?
I don't know, but it would have to come before the board. It would depend on the group and what they were doing. And I mean, I can't answer that now. We have to decide at the time. But that would be something I would,
Yeah.
but that would be something to bring before the entire commission.
Yeah.
So, all right. So am I right in thinking that we're happy with the way this is written now? Okay. And we've talked about some changes, but we're not going to implement them right now. All right.
Where's
So-
this posted? Just the website or?
Well, that's what we have to talk about next. After we approve it, I think we probably should approve it, do a motion to approve it, and then we should talk about where it's going to be posted. Because some of you volunteered to do things relative to that, and I remember that. So, all right. So can I hear a motion to approve the policy as written?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now where? All right. I believe Pat volunteered to make it into a form that will live on the town website.
I can do that.
Okay, and Patrick volunteered to make it something that, there was a expression used, I don't remember what it is, but something you can fill in on the town website.
Same as the form.
Yep.
Yeah, I
So-
think Michael has a system for creating the form, so I defer. If Michael wants help, I help him with one form, and I'm sure Pat would help him too. But I think the website's really what kind of Michael's responsibility. So how he implements it, I would suggest we leave up to him.
Yeah, I can work on getting the form up there, work with on a fillable form or whatever.
Okay,
Yeah, if that's a place you want it on the website, yeah.
So I shouldn't be doing any of the fillable stuff, just design the form?
Michael, is that,
Do you know how to do the fillable portions?
In Word?
I think Patrick uses, what do
Yeah,
you use, Patrick?
I've used it before. I've done that before.
I use the Adobe products because they're a little more.
Yeah,
Broken up, but
all right.
all right.
I'll talk to you guys about it.
Pat's a retired IT person.
Ah,
You don't know her
There's a
background.
lot of IT people here.
I was all IT my whole career.
All right, and then there'll be, right, so we will work it out so that there's hopefully maybe one email for these 4 people, so I will get it at that point, and
Right.
I can do.
Yeah, just a distribution email.
Yeah, all right, that sounds good. Any other thoughts or questions or concerns, any issues for you?
Small sign in the cemetery entrance and it says a group tour, to schedule a group tour, please visit, stockbridgema.gov or whatever. I'm just wondering if, it may not be intuitive that you have to visit the website to schedule your event at the cemetery.
Good point.
The question becomes, usually you would hope people would either reach out to the town by calling and then we direct them to the website or go to the website. Because the only other thing is, where do you put the signs and how many signs? And do we really want a whole bunch of signs all over the place? I think you got to balance
Well,
that.
it
And if a
could
tour happens, it could be just going to those people and saying, hey, by the way, from now on.
On your open and close sign though, it could be in smaller print on that same sign.
Right.
They're gonna be custom regardless, so you can have them do whatever they wanna do.
Right, and many people are walking in.
Right.
And everyone is driving in, and at some point you may see a walking sign, especially if we put one back from Church
then
Street.
people might-
Have it at the entrance, but then when you also turn in, if there's another sign there by the ellipse, then they're likely to see that because they're gonna be walking at that point, most likely, into that area.
We don't want people thinking that you sign up for tours. We want
Right.
depends on how much language you want to, I don't know. I think we're looking for a solution for a problem that doesn't exist.
That could be, it could very well be. I'd like to see the mock-ups first, and then we'll get a sense of,
Right.
makes sense to add anything.
Then we can see if becomes an issue. The few groups that have called, or in the case of the one we saw being advertised.
Yeah, so, yeah, if that situation happens again, I can certainly reach out and get in touch. That's what I did. I got in touch with the tour organizer, and
Right.
I could certainly at that point say, you have to go to the town website, and, okay, all right.
Because that group wasn't even coming to the cemetery. They weren't driving into the cemetery. I don't know if that's where people would look for I think people that are organizing tours, like the group that wanted to do a haunted cemeteries of the Berkshires, they were just looking to do it at various cemeteries. So
They
they
hadn't,
didn't show up. They didn't.
no, they hadn't visited. No, that's a really good point. Yeah. All right. So, okay, so you're going to deal with, you and Pat are going to deal with the form.
Yep.
Right? And get that up on the website. And I'm going to, well, Mike, you and I can talk about this separately. I think maybe at this point we have enough cemetery information that we might want to look at where the cemetery information, how it's organized on the website. Just talk about it a little bit, not take up time.
Yeah, we'll wait. We're looking at a couple options of what to do with our website.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Making some changes, so.
Yeah, because the consultant's report needs to go up at some point, and some of the names need to be updated, that sort of thing.
Did we want that to be on this upcoming agenda?
Not yet, because I'm waiting to still hear back from one.
Okay.
It'll be soon, yes.
Names need to be updated. You talking about the committee members' names?
Yes,
We can do that with the current website very easily, right?
Yeah, that can be done.
Yeah.
Oh, just names. Oh, all right, all right.
there are several things, I just
All
don't want to take up.
right. Yeah, we could just go over
But
that.
that's one example of something very simple. I thought I could just talk to Teresa about that,
Yeah.
get that done. But there's,
Teresa, 'cause she's the one who
she
made
does
those
it.
changes.
yeah, so I'll talk to her about some of the things I'm thinking about, and then there are other things we can
Yeah.
go into greater depth when the
All
time.
right.
All right? Good, yeah.
Post,
Thank you.
I know we spoke about the post. and
Oh,
then-
yes, yes.
Is anybody, I don't mind helping with the legwork, but I don't want to do the legwork if somebody else is also doing the legwork. I didn't know where it was left.
Where is it left? I don't know either, actually.
They're
Replacing the cemetery posts on the outside of the
By
cemetery?
the hedges,
By the hedges?
they're at the cemetery that we.
I was gonna say, we ordered them last year.
They're
Right.
in.
No, they're inside, I had them put them inside. so
All right.
it happened. Do you want to table it till next meeting, and if they find their way where they're supposed to be, that's what happens?
What's the confusion here?
Yeah, we're just,
Well, we don't know who's putting them in, I don't know.
there wasn't, Chris was gonna coordinate with you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's always the highway department.
Right.
You need to talk to yourself
Sorry.
about it.
Yeah, so advise yourself that you need to replace the cement posts with because we got the marble ones
Yes.
again, compared to the ones that were put in that are just cement that have deteriorated. So yes, you could just, like they said, talk to yourself and coordinate it.
Okay, but I didn't know, we never really left it anywhere, so I.
Right. That was one of those ones that sort of got dropped a little bit because Chris had ordered them and they'd come in and
Right.
he left. Yeah.
I just assume get them where they're supposed to be before something happens to them.
Yeah.
Well, they're taking up a lot of space too.
Well, it's not, it is, but it's more of a damage. I don't want nothing spilled on them or
Yeah.
hit with a mower or.
Yeah,
No, they look great.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see that change.
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad you asked about that. Good, good.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was done before Memorial Day weekend.
Along with the beach, along with the park.
Yeah, but the cemetery is very visible Memorial Day.
But that was a very eloquent answer.
I'm accepting volunteers.
Okay, all right. Okay, anything else? Or I think we're done with for today. Our next meeting is May 24th, and I guess we need to have a motion to adjourn the meeting. So I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much.